podcast joint with Ciara.
What the deal is? It's T-Money, and you are now watching the T-Money podcast joint featuring Ciara Ross.
Hey, hey, hey.
And today we have, listen to me, sometimes you have special people, then you got super special people, and you got people on a whole nother level. Today, I got my man, 50 Grand, one of the greatest MCs of all time.
Yep.
AKA the voice of God, my man Chuck D, Public Enemy in the building. Give it up for Chuck D. Everybody give it up.
Man, we've been going. I mean,
So,
come on, man.
so now let me tell you what.
We've known each other since before Cadillac's 8 tracks and you know, and boom tax. And if it's another level, it's the basement level.
That's it's the friendship level, because this is my man. We go back to '83. You know, we go back like camel humps and suede fronts. You know what I mean?
And this
we
is
go
exactly
back
why
to
I had
British
to wear the
Walkers.
hoodie to represent the sir.
So
yes.
other times you wear other things?
Absolutely, but today was a special occasion
Okay.
to represent all across
Yeah,
the
she's just
board
trying
who
to
I'm
thug it
sitting
out
next
right now.
to.
That's what it is.
Okay.
So Chuck, man, how first of all, how you doing? How's everything, man?
I'm good, man.
Long time no see.
Every time I see you, I said we could do an interview with us just looking at each other. But there's so much to say, right? It'd be going
No
for 8
question.
hours, right?
No
so
question.
Like where do we start, right?
Yeah, let's if that's the case, let's start. Let's take
you
it.
got notes. I said, your chief got notes.
No, I just have little things scribed. Unlike everybody else, I don't have to actually write
I
questions.
know. What kind of notes do you have on me?
No, nothing. But listen. But just
You got
listen.
tea on me. That's for damn sure. And I got it on him.
Oh no, I don't have no tea. I'm quiet. Well, we won't even do this because we don't want to go viral with that.
Listen,
Anyway.
we come from a time that if you know, and this is something that even starts it off. Is like we come from a time, man, where you didn't air things that you had. That you did.
No, now
it's
it's
like, why you
no,
gonna go
bro.
and just tell somebody.
But you gotta
so the person
understand
can-
now. That's what's happening. That's what's necessary.
So
People
what is
do
it?
that.
What is it? Somebody's got to like, yeah, I want you to know my insides.
Yeah, because they're doing it for clicks.
for
They're
clout.
doing it for looks. They're doing it for popularity. They're doing it because they want to generate attention to themselves.
It's just an
Absolutely.
insecure thing based on their raising. It's like when I was raised, it's like you know what? The world surrounds you. You are the best in the world, no matter what. It's not going to be based on your characteristics. It's going to be based on your character.
Right.
It's going to be based on, and that's what Dr. King was talking about.
Right.
He didn't want his kids to be based on like how they looked and what they had and what
Right.
they was living and driving. It's like based on like who you are. But then again.
Right.
That's what growing up is, to learn who you are and what's around you.
But
So-
today, people don't care about that. The
Not
only
at
thing they
all.
care about right now is, sensationalism. That's all
There's
they care
somebody in
about.
charge. You know what? You know who's in charge?
Who's that?
Either Apple or Android.
Oh, well, yeah, and they pulling the strings. You ain't
Yeah.
know?
Exactly.
You ain't know?
Exactly.
Yeah, but so I want to talk, because first of all, you're probably one of the, and keep in mind, I'm speaking from my audience perspective, not necessarily me.
Yeah,
when I
it
say
ain't
these
me
things,
talking,
when I'm
right?
talking all these grandiose things about how you're the greatest of all
How you doing?
time.
How are you? Nice to meet you as well.
too.
I'm speaking-
Please know I'm not a screenager. So
I'm
We have
speaking from my
things to go.
audience's perceived perspective on you.
right.
Okay, when I say how you are as a hip hop legend and X, Y, and Z, but I want you to paint a picture for me if you can. Okay, well, actually paint a picture for them. So because I know Strong Island is a term that you dubbed, late '80s, early '90s, and it's actually transcended, throughout the years. And Long Island has always gotten a bad rap as it relates to different parts of the country and especially the 5 boroughs. So I want you to paint a picture, because I'm from Long Island, so I understand, the cultural differences, between white and black. I understand, what black people had to go through during those times. When people from, you're not necessarily, because you're literally from Harlem, aren't you?
No,
Where you
I ain't
from?
from Harlem.
Well, you're from another.
Born in Queens.
Queens, okay,
Flushing,
right.
1960.
Right.
And we moved to Roosevelt 1960.
Right, just like and Keith and Keith Bomb Squad members, they're from another place, and so were we.
Right.
So we moved to Long Island thinking, as most people did at that time, thinking you did get a better life for themselves, right? So, but not understanding culturally what Long Island, had to offer or didn't for a greater perspective. But I want you to tell me what about your upbringing, and how you were raised, and more importantly, like the things that you went through during that time when you were in Roosevelt, Long Island, which is now predominantly 90% black and maybe 10% Hispanic.
Well, Roosevelt now is probably 50%, black, 50% Latino.
Oh yeah, like most Long Island.
But when we moved to Roosevelt in 1969. In 1965, I think it had to be like 65 to 70% white.
Right.
And then in 68, it was like sort of like 60% white. And my parents bought a house, $20,000, right?
Wow.
From
$20,000 for a house,
right?
right?
For a house in Roosevelt. From a white family that built the house in 1954. So it was only 15 years old.
Right.
And they built it in 1954. And then by 1972, Roosevelt was like 85% black. You know what I'm saying? So they had it was a test study for white flight, which means that black families moving in, white families moving out.
Right.
But some of them holding on, and they were
like Howard Stern's family. They
Howard
stayed there.
Stern's family was there, and they stayed there and made Howard go to a school that was like turning all black. And number one, coming into Roosevelt back in the day, I think I heard Charlie Murphy tell these stories too. Because they came from Brooklyn. I remember when they first moved in, Charlie and Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy, right.
And they lived down the block. It's like Roosevelt was 1 square mile, so you had people who were kind of born there in Long Island. Then you had people coming in from the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, like we did, and Manhattan.
Right.
So really, you had a rivalry, although everybody was black, but everybody had different, spots where they came from. Really, it was a microcosm in the study of whenever you want to know about black people in the United States. If you take geography and history away from a person, you got a slave.
Right, without question.
Geography is the only reason that black folks are where they at in the United States. It's because of migration. And migration had my great grandparents and grandparents moved from North Carolina. 3/4 of them come from North Carolina. Why? Because of Jim Crow.
Right.
And Jim Crow basically said, get the fuck up out of here, right? So black folks went north.
Right.
It's the only reason why black folks went to Harlem, because Harlem was like I asked my great grandmother who passed away at 100 in 1997, right?
Right.
And I said, what made you move to New York from North Carolina? She said, Jim Crow, we had to get, and then your daddy, his father had to get the hell on out because they put some white boy in the ditch. And so, it's so-and-so here, I can't find them.
Right.
They already shot up north.
Right.
One brother went to New York, the other brother went to Philly, and another one went to Detroit. So Jim Crow is in the house. My mother and father were both born in Harlem Hospital.
Oh, okay.
1938 and 39. So, with that dynamic, they lived in Harlem, and then when things started opening up in the New York metropolitan area, the opportunity was there in Long Island. The whole key that was the difference in a lot of people is that you're not going to be one person to get a crib and get credit in 1969 as a black person.
Right.
It happened to be like my mom and pop worked crazy jobs, and both of them together, we was able to be up in the house as opposed to being in the apartment.
I think that was the story for a lot of us. I mean, and then both my parents had to work, and that's the same thing for most of us.
Because you probably had cousins that thought you was a rich kid just because you lived on Long Island.
Of course.
And I
my cousins from the Bronx looked at me like, you guys have... you got money. I said, no, my father works every day, and so is my mother.
And did you ever walk to the refrigerator and also the area? It'd be like, damn, we ain't got no food.
Yeah.
So we had a place to stay.
Right.
I was always hungry.
Right. No question, man. So I mean, and so talk to me a little about. So with that being said, it's predominantly black.
Yep.
And some of the things that you learned as a young kid in school, and because you got to look at it. The reason why I'm mentioning all these things is because at some point, I want to actually get it so we can understand where
I come from,
where you come from, and
what made me what I am.
What developed your mindset? Why Public Enemy? Why did you become a rapper? Why
I had young super hip parents.
Right.
I was in the Black Panthers lunch program in Harlem in 1968. I hated going to Harlem back in the day because I was used to like climbing trees and running on grass, and then I get to Harlem, which was often, it was like, stay on that stoop, boy.
There was no grass.
There was no grass. This ain't Long Island. I was like, I'm from Queens. Right? They laughing at me. Yeah, that's Long Island too. This will tell everybody, you from Queens or Brooklyn, that's Long Island to a Harlem.
That's right. You don't have to cross a bridge to get to it, so that is Long Island too.
It's Harlem, and everybody else was country.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
The Bronx was country, Brooklyn was country, Queens definitely was country. It's like have farms. And Long Island, after that, it's like, yo, I don't know, y'all on Mars. So
The Bronx was actually, I mean, we taking it really back. I mean, it was called the Bronx, which was Bronx Farms. It was nothing but farmland way before it became a borough. But we won't even get into that.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, like, you know, the Bronx started to open up. You know, the white folks, you know, Jewish community got broken up out there because of the Cross Bronx community Parkway in the early '60s.
Right.
So they were like, "Yo, man, if we got a building, we're gonna hold on to it. I don't know, if we're gonna take care of it, but you know, it's for rent, whatever. We up out of here."
Right.
So they moved up out, and then all of a sudden, you had Puerto Ricans was able, you know, came in the '50s, and the same thing kind of happened in Brooklyn, and then you know they had a Caribbean explosion.
Right.
So long story short, when you study black people, you got to study migration. And if all you got to do is ask your grandparent where they come from and what was the reason. And if they're going to start off with Virginia, North Carolina, you know, South Carolina. Why in New York and Philly? Because we ain't got time to go west. We got to go straight. Jim Crow says, get nigga, you know, you taking what we call the I-95. The I-95 is like, get to the northeast, I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's different when you study geography and people in Detroit. It's the the interstate system is the I-65.
Right.
You know, they coming from Alabama, they coming from Tennessee, and they getting up to cross the Ohio River up into Cleveland and Detroit.
Right.
And Chicago, they come from Mississippi and Louisiana. In Texas, they went out west. You know what I'm saying? So racism was a big key in migration anyway. And then that's the thing where my parents were basically like, okay, they born in Harlem. They don't know none of this southern root. So Harlem is a teaching thing. And so when it came down to and they were young, so my parents encouraged me to be hip in the arts because I wanted to be in the arts. I was drawing and doing art since I was 1. So
what?
And I don't think it goes in the blood either because my great grandfather was one of the original architects in the Flatiron Building.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now he's the first licensed architect in New Jersey.
Shout out to Jersey.
The first licensed black architect, and the second licensed black architect in New York State. Now he was light, bright, damn near white, but he was listed as black because I mean, you know, you ain't totally white, so you know, so he couldn't pass. But so yeah, he's the dude. He died in 1923. He's my grandfather's father.
But so your love for art. I mean, you said it wasn't bloodline, but it is because.
Maybe
but just so you guys know, you know, Chuck is a graphic artist by trade, actually.
Absolutely.
So I mean, and the Public Enemy logo is something he designed. I mean, as a matter of fact, at 3 a.m, I used to sit up with him when he actually was putting artwork together for all the. I mean, we can go on for days with that.
I used to have the portfolio, and I had nude models, right? So him and Keith Shockley be like, "Yo, man, we want to come and see. We want to come up and see them naked B.I.
You know what?
You know what I'm saying? And I had the portfolio. I said, "No, they're nude models. It's not the same, man. It's not the same.
It's art."
They say, "You crazy, Chuck? Because if I was in that class and all, like, okay, that's why you're not in that class.
Yeah, but
that's
you know
how
what?
far back we go.
Well,
Nude models, T. Nude models.
I got it now.
I
Don't worry.
understand that. He understands now. But speaking of art, you know, a lot of schools don't have art anymore. How do you feel about that?
Because they de-emphasize arts because art is a universal language. Culture is a thing that ties the human beings together for our similarities and knocks aside the differences. That's why I trust art and artists and music and all that more than I trust governments. And beware when a government says it's in control of the arts. And why have, you know, more people are in the arts than they are in the sports.
Yep.
I mean, why, you know, everybody needs music, everybody does art. Matter of fact, people today, they listen with their eyes.
Yeah, visual.
Yeah, everything got to be visual. It's like, I can't just put out an audio, or people don't listen. They don't listen the same.
People don't even read, let alone listen.
You don't read, you don't listen, then the world is playing a 3-card money game on you.
Right.
Now we in the area of Lower Manhattan where Three-car Monty was king.
Oh, no question.
Anybody coming to New York, and all of a sudden, I'm going to try that, right? They like, here they come. Like, here for Delancey Street.
Right,
here
right.
they come a mile away.
Right, Town Square, Delancey
Yeah,
Street.
You know what I'm saying? The shell is under the clam. The clam, you don't understand. It's like they're going like this. And meanwhile, they got somebody going around picking pockets.
Yep.
See,
so how do you know that too well? You know a little too well. Were you over there doing it?
I wasn't doing it, but I was number one. Don't put a wallet in your pocket. Yo, man, I ain't got no money, but I'm beware. I'm definitely aware of what's going on, man. It's like 21st century is where every single generation, except for our OG generation, is getting gamed through the screens. That's why they screen ages. They're getting gamed. Old game is coming through the screen.
That's right.
Yep.
They like this. They like, boom. Oh, you pulled the app. You pressed I accept. Gotcha. How many of y'all press I accept without even reading it? You just want the app, right?
The problem
That's all you
is
want.
I actually try to not accept it, or like I'll read it. I actually read it. I'm going, okay, well, I don't like this line, but I accept everything else. And you can't even.
You're hurting your brains.
I know.
I can't even read it. Matter of fact, the type is so small, and I don't understand it, right? So I have to basically say, well, damn, how much of myself do I want to give Big Brother?
Yep. Yep.
Ain't nobody could get away with nothing these days. Nothing.
Yeah.
Like, this ain't like 19 anything.
We got all the angles figured out, bro.
Yo, man.
All the angles figured out.
Look, every aspect of this life is cornered with surveillance,
Yes.
cameras, things you can't even see. Things. So why are you dreaming up things in your mind when you watching too many movies that's giving you incentive that you could get away with crime? You can't. Yo, you a black person. You could not get away with crime in the 21st century. You have to go into another layer of trying to get cats because it's not going backwards. And so if that's the case, the thing that could collectively save us is our minds collectively on what we can do to look out.
And that's
for
the problem because the operative word in that sentence is collectively.
Yeah, well, the screen ain't just separates you.
Right.
Everybody's getting everything through a screen. We're doing something for the screen. Hopefully, maybe the things could leak through the screen where you know, since people, they listen with their eyes, you can kind of counter, you know, attack some of that.
This is true.
We're in the we are in the century and also in the decade of deep high science, and we just don't want the science to be working against us.
This is true.
But it's deep high science on us right now. Look, man, how many, ask somebody, do they remember the pandemic? It's 4 years ago, right? The people who forgot.
Yep, forgot like it never happened.
Did you ever think, T, right? And I have to ask you, too. Did you ever think that somebody would stay in the crib a month? As many hard cats as we know, right?
Stay in the crib a
government
month?
said basically like this, like, your ass is staying in the crib. Either the disease gonna get you or we gonna get your ass. And cats is like, well, you know, I need to catch up on some old DVDs anyway.
Right, right. That's crazy.
Cats,
Yep.
every hard cat was in the crib.
Yep.
I didn't see nobody.
It was like the
Martial law.
there you go.
Yep.
It was like martial law, bro. Like nobody was on the street, nobody worked, nobody did
Nothing.
anything.
Man, listen.
So
Listen.
that was
government,
crazy.
Government is the true example of fuck around.
And
Yeah.
find out exactly.
I've
Right.
been to 116 countries, man. Trust me. I believe that culture brings human beings together, and governments are meant, although they're supposed to be accountable and responsible, they, you know, governments keep people separated, categorized apart, and they keep you from being
to control you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and we already collected just by our skin, but they, you know, they got to figure out how to break that up. I mean, I see things where there's so much discourse between like this type of person, black person in the United States, and this type of person from the Caribbean, and then they're having discourse over it on somebody's platform. I call it platformtation.
Yep.
You know what that is?
Yep.
It's a platform. Now, I'm on a platform, yeah, but your platform is on a plantation.
Right.
Unless you own the app, you on somebody's plantation.
Absolutely.
I do own my apps. I have 2 apps I built, and that's Rap Station, which is 11 station channels, and that was built a few years ago, and also the Bring the Noise app, which is the world's first cultural app. Y'all could go to bringthenoiseapp.com, and you know, and I tell people all the time, it's like, it's not something that's going to beat apps. All it is like we favor art and culture. It's a cultural app. It's not social media. It could be. It's pretty much TikTok, 35 and over. I like to say 40 and over, but I got a 5-year grace period.
Okay.
The way you want to be. You want to be older, you want to be younger. Because never have we entered a time where a 45-year-old is trying to act like they're 19.
No.
And the 19-year-old see you coming if you're 30.
That's right.
But they don't know, right? So anyway, Bring the Noise app. They go to Bring the Noise app, download it. It works like TikTok, but we got a lot of things in it. And technology has been the thing I've been in for the last 25 years.
No question. So we'll revisit that at the end of the show when you can make mention to that as well. But I wanted to ask you, so with that being said, after all that, which is super.
I know, right? That was like,
That was
which
a
is
lot.
super.
But we here for
but just tell us a little bit of how your love for the arts led you to the PE. Even before PE, we met at Adelphi University
which was out Center Point.
Right, at 1983, we collabed on a couple of things, myself, Dr. Dre, Hank Shockley, Keith Shockley, the whole Bomb Squad, at a radio station called WBAU. This is before the internet went wild, before there was social media, before anything. There were 20-something-year-old young men were in control of a radio station that broadcast from Central Islip to Coney Island, New York, through the city.
Seed of Mr. Bill Stephanie.
That's right, Mr. Bill Stephanie. Salute
I
to
think
him.
Bill was the first person to do high-level, intelligent question-answer interviews of hip-hop and rap artists. He
Right.
gave Run DMC a first interview.
No question. LL Cool J, the Fat Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And high level where people are doing podcasts now, Bill Stephanie, as well as being really, I think, the first black executive at a record company.
Yeah, he was vice president of Def Jam for quite some time. And me and Dre learned. I mean, I'm sitting here as a testament to Bill Stephanie today, being able to do this. Before me and Dre even got on Your Own TV Raps, we learned how to interview through BAU, through Bill.
Yep.
So
And
salute to
showed
Bill,
Dre
man.
the ropes and the board.
That's right.
On how to actually assume it. And then Bill took over the seat. I mean, Dre took over the seat that Bill vacated, and also put an extra training to Dre for Dre to do the operating room.
Right.
On Monday nights at WBAU.
That's right, from 10 to 1.
6 years.
The 10 to 1, that's right. And we had a great time there. But my point was, we were young and we were in control of.
We wasn't that young.
We were in our 20s. I mean, compared to how we are now, I mean, come on. We were young.
You're still young.
Yeah, in my heart I'm young. But I'm not that young. But we were in our 20s. I mean, honestly, we were in our 20s in college. I mean, come
But
on.
we wasn't 4.
No. I mean, 4 would
Today
be.
people are, they like, yo, man, I'm young. I'm like, I look at them, I'm like, you're not 12. You know what I'm saying? The thing is like, people tell you how young they are. It's like, so yeah, but you want to do this, and that,
Right.
because you grown and don't want to be told what to do. But you young over here.
That part.
It's convenient for you.
Yeah, this
It's
what I'm saying?
convenient.
Can we
I mean,
can
once
we
you go
touch
in the
on it?
bathroom, right, and you definitely know that you reach puberty. You reach puberty, right?
Right.
Your ass is old.
Right.
I mean, they could be coming to me with that young shit. I'm like, all right, you at 19 years old, take that conversation to your 14-year-old brother that you young, and they're gonna look at you like, yeah, really?
To them, you're old.
Exactly.
Facts.
Age
That's
is a
facts.
perspective.
That's
it's like what
facts.
you're doing with your age.
Right.
I think when we was in our 20s, we was in our 30s when we was in our 20s.
Mentally,
We were all collective.
yeah. And let me tell you this story. Just viewing audience, let me tell you, my first time meeting Chuck and Keith and Hank, it was a huge cultural and mental shift for myself when we went to. They listen to me. They ran an office. Not only did they have a radio station in college, they had their own office. This is ridiculous. Like, they had their own office. Dr. Gant, salute to Dr. Gant.
Yep.
They had an office at this place called 510 Studios. They dubbed it 510. They produced several local artists, and which turned out to be great artists. Some of them are like Busta Rhymes, actually. Leads in New School. We can go on for days, but my point is,
Because you named Busta Rhymes. It had something to do with that, correct?
Yeah, but we all had something to do with that. Hank named Charlie Brown. I think Leaders of New School is a bar that's in the verse of Don't Believe the Hype.
Yeah,
so but anyway,
yeah,
like,
but what I'm trying to say, I want to finish my thought.
No, not to cut you off. I'm
That's
sorry.
all right. But I was dumbfounded to know that you guys had an office.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, Keith and you guys were so advanced as far as DJing. Me and Dre, I mean, it was sort of like we were big fish in a small pond. Then when we left Westbury, we went to Hempstead and Roosevelt and was like, we're not doing right. We need to step our game up.
And
we learned from there.
And Dre is such a chameleon. Dre. You know, our good brother Andre Brown is such a chameleon that wherever y'all had to do to catch up, y'all caught up like in a month or two.
Sure did.
It's like it was like steel makes steel. You know,
Yep.
steel sharpens steel. But the same thing when I first
sure
joined
did.
Spectrum and Hank
Right.
and Keith. You know, I got on the mic at Adelphi, right? Adelphi is the middle point of everything.
Right,
and
right.
Hank, I was a big Spectrum fan because we're from Roosevelt. And all I wanted to do is dance and just do flyers. Nasty ass flyers.
I remember we hung up and we used to hang up flyers.
Yeah.
We hung up flyers to do our shows. I remember hanging out with you and I think it was Hank. It was Keith. Me, you, Keith, and somebody else in a snowstorm. This is before you couldn't promote your show on the internet. There was no internet.
Yep.
So you had to hang up poster boards.
Yep.
So we're out
Staple.
hanging up poster boards on telephone poles and stuff like that.
400 poles. In the wintertime.
In the winter.
No gloves.
Gangsta.
Can't go staple guns. But anyway,
Okay,
long story short.
moving forward.
Long story short.
Right.
Is that I was kind of like getting on the mic to kind of like sit whack MCs down. Because you know back in the day, you asked somebody to dance and then somebody whack on the turntable.
Right.
Somebody whack on the mic and the girl is obviously, I don't want to dance no more.
Yeah, right.
So they like killing your game. Right.
Right.
So you like, I got on the mic just to like, nobody's going to get on the mic after me.
Right.
And nobody did. It's like, oh, yeah, I don't care where you come from. You could come from the Bronx. You could come from wherever. But when I get on the mic, nobody's going to get on the mic after me.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the DJ's playing records. So Hank heard me one night and he said, yo, you the same dude that came to me with the flyers?
Right.
Because my gig wasn't bumping because of the flyers. I said, yeah, but I kind of dabble at it. I only do it because of this. Hank said, I want you to be an MC with Spectrum.
Right.
I was like, all right. 2 days later, when I gave him an okay, but when I went to Mrs. Boxley's house, Keith and Hank's mother, and I went in the basement where they had their first office, I ain't never seen no DJ shit like this in my life. I was like, I thought I was walking into Steve Jobs.
Wow.
It's like, Keith Shockley was taking like, listen to records, BPM. They was part of a record pool. They had charts on the refrigerator. They had like 1,000 pieces of equipment, all like folded up in Japanese style, where it's all in his mom's basement. His mom could still come down and open up the freezer and get some food out, and the shit still being on. Keith and Hank was the most amazing DJ
and that's the same energy that I got when I went to 510 and I walk in. You had a receptionist. Listen to me. They had a receptionist desk. They had the studio room. EJ was on the other side. They had catalogs of nothing but vinyl. This place was like DJ heaven. So me and Dre were like, what in the world? I mean, Dre might not ever admit it, but I'm telling you how the hell I felt. I walked out there like, yo, we got to get, the next day, my father worked at a place that like built like bathroom fixtures and stuff, and he was good with wood. My father, right? So he made us a whole new coffin.
I remember.
That's right. We made a coffin. Okay, we got to get a coffin because Keith got a coffin. We went and bought lights, disco lights. My father even said, you guys should get Go-Go Girls. We didn't listen.
It eventually happened.
Yeah, Luke did it. Me and Dre looked at each other like, see, we should listen to my dad to get go-go dancers. But my thing is the experience of that, that energy there kind of, to me, separated us on Long Island from people in the city. Because the city people were like, and when they came out to see us, they were like, these guys are organized, they're focused, they're driven, they have all these advantages.
They had a little,
but it wasn't like they was given to us.
Keith and Hank had also Caribbean roots where, like you had to know everything to do for self.
Yeah, no question.
And then also you had the Caribbean related DJs were in Queens.
Right.
Because King Charles from
no
Jamaica.
question.
And then you had the Infinity Machine with
Divine Sound, DJ Divine.
And then you had Disco Twins with Astoria, and they were well-kept organizations. But we wasn't affluent. we had to make something out of nothing. And, you know, like even the thing that stopped us from doing records, listen, it was one or two ways. Either you got people that's going to give you money,
right,
or you know drug cats that's giving you money.
Right.
And we, you know, and we kept separate. We didn't get no drug money. No. So we got to make something. And so money was something that separated us from being what Def Jam was. That's why we fought against that thing for so long. But then Dre broke the ice, started hanging with the Def Jam guys a lot. Because we broke all the Def Jam records at BAU. Right. And then Dre started hanging. And you and Dre started going down to dance.
We could be DJing in the clubs in the city all the time. And then we started hanging at Rush. That's what happened.
Right.
And then Rick decided to give. Rick started listening to BAU. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Then he gave me and Dre our first deal. See, we would have. People don't even realize that me and Dre got our deal before you guys.
Right.
Right. The original concept got that deal first. Yep. And then Rick heard Public Enemy #1, which I'm still mad at you for taking me off the song, but that's all right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I'm on the original version. If you listen to Public Enemy #1. I'm on the original version, the radio version.
Why did you get taken off the song?
No, I'm only kidding with him.
It was a radio promo for BAU.
And he had to change the names because it was a part of the group, but the radio promo had my name on it.
The original demo said I could go solo like a Sugar Ray bolo.
Yep.
And that was made after Sugar Ray had that fight with Roberto Duran.
That's right.
Remember we sized them up, it was like that.
That's right.
So, you know, and then later on I put Tyson in it. But,
that's right. He said Shaka T, me. There's a bunch of people from the radio station he put in, but then he switched them when he got the deal, you know? But it's okay. I don't hold that against him. I understood. You know?
but we know.
That's right. That's right. And I still have the original version anyway.
And look, we here in 2024 talking about it.
We good to go.
Full circle.
So BAU in itself and everything that we dealt with prior to getting records set us up to actually be successful once we get the deal. And then Rick called him and was interested in signing, and he said no for 2 years. And tell him why you said no. I already know. Please let the viewing audience know why you said no to Rick Rubin, Russell Simmons, and Def Jam. Because they
didn't want to make records. What we wanted to do, we wanted to be like Kiss and BLS and beat their ass. Because we knew if we was able to put what we were doing at BAU in New York, we would have ruled New York. Y'all would have never listened to Kiss and BLS, right?
Right.
Our 9 hours at BAU, if we went into a regular station,
we would have killed it. And you know what's so funny? You know what's so funny about that whole scenario is that years later, when we didn't do that, Chuck continuously talked about how bad New York radio was. He talked about that, and I listened to that because he's right. Because when you would travel,
friends, Chuck Chill Out and
that's the spin. That's the DJs. I'm talking about like the day to day, right?
But this is what happened. What happened in New York? Hot 97, 1993, right?
Right.
All they did what we told them to do in 1984, and if they did, it was enough rap records in 1984. Matter of fact. 1984, 1985, 1986.
There was a lot of songs that came out. A lot of rap records came out.
They had the Fresh Fest coming through here. Fresh Fest came out to Nassau Coliseum.
They had the Raising Hell tour.
Raising Hell in '86 at the Garden.
Yep.
So they had enough. They had enough to do it, but they was afraid. They were like, "Oh, this is going to cannibalize our format, and we're not going to have sponsors, and and Pan Am won't sponsor us." And we're like, "Well, you find somebody and all." So
you have to figure it out.
So we were before our time. And so when I finally signed the Def Jam, I called it the Great Surrender. We surrendered. You see me sign the contract.
You know what? I wanted to.
Because the record wasn't a big deal.
A couple things.
I had five rooms of records to categorize.
They didn't want Flav, right? And then that was a whole thing that held up everything.
That wasn't even a big deal. I was like, I'm not going to do no record if you don't take Flav.
Right. Forget about it. But you know what? You know what I think about during those times? There was a day.
But you know this? Did you know that Rick said he tried to get me to rhyme with y'all?
Oh, yeah, I heard that because he didn't like Gerald.
No, well,
he didn't like Rapper G.
I'm not saying he was trying to like G or not. I'm just like saying, in order to get, he thought in order that I'm gonna be like, ooh, I'm gonna make a record. So rhyme with Dre and the concept, and I was like, I don't want to make no records.
Right. He didn't like Rapper G. He thought he sounded like LL Cool J. He wanted us to do something different. That's documented. But my point is, there was a time where you were about to sign your deal. Now, keep in mind, at this time, this is very important. At this time, everybody was making songs, but the songs, hip hop songs, were happy. They were party songs. You know, Original Concept came out, and they, you know, and I wish today that I was able to actually do that album with a different mindset, because we were just happy we had a deal at the time, and there were a lot of things that we did based on what we did on BAU.
Y'all created
bass music. That Luke.
They never give us
credit to it.
That Dre, every time I tell people, I say, yeah, y'all talk about Andre Young. Andre Brown created the 808 that's never stopping.
That's right.
And I remember that day.
I remember that whole day. Yeah.
We had the 8000. And we had the bass machine, and you and Dre came in with the 909.
That's right, kid. Because Dre had bought the machine. We had it in his mother's basement, and we was tinkering with that. I said, "Oh, this will be crazy." And then Dre turned it all the way up.
And showed Rick. And the first record that came out with the sustained bass was
Together Forever. Yep.
Run DMC.
Yep.
That's when people first
Together Forever. Together Forever. Run DMC. And we're tougher. Boom, 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 boom.
Ladies and gentlemen, actual fact. Go anywhere else and get fucked up with something that ain't the fact. That's the fact. Dr. Dre and this man right here, Tyrone Kelsey, created bass in hip hop.
That's facts. That's facts, brother. That's facts.
Yo, listen, I'll be watching all. It's a trillion podcasts out there. There's all kinds of people saying everything, and I just like the OG. I just watch shit.
That's
I
facts.
like to watch shit, and if I want to say shit now, I just draw pictures, man.
But let me get back to this conversation.
Yes, sir.
So me and you came around my way. I got in the car with you, and we were having a conversation. And you were telling me this is when you just signed the deal.
Yeah.
With Def Jam. I was like, oh, you signed good. So you know what are you gonna do now? So this is the question. And he was like, well, you know, you were telling me the group name and everything. I said, this is cool. So what kind of songs are you gonna make? And you were like, well, I don't want to make the same kind of songs that everybody else makes. I don't want to do that because to me, that's whack. I don't want to do party songs. And I was like, well, party songs are working for me and Dre. We're doing okay with that. Said, that's not what I want to do. So this is when when he had this conversation with me, he was explaining to me the concept of Public Enemy, which is unbelievable. Because it's never been done before. Nobody, you know, talked about black people in this way, you know, on record, especially hip hop artists. You know, we didn't have that kind of platform to do that. And Chuck said, this is what he's going to do. And then when they came out, they did shows. The S1s were carrying guns, Uzis, and
the reason was because, you know, we were devastated. We seen it in real time, man. The 80s was R&B. That's Reagan and Bush.
Right.
We didn't see. We saw Roosevelt go from weed and being the number one thing in 1975 as well with that and some brew.
Right.
For a person to occupy their Friday night. I didn't either, right? Because I was half-assed at sports and didn't want to be whacker. But we did parties and everybody did what they did. But all of a sudden by 77, right, they took weed off the streets and all of a sudden they was
crack.
Selling cocaine.
Actually, coke.
Not
crack.
Crack. Coke.
Right.
And then the guys that just wanted weed and brew to have their weekend, they couldn't find their weed. And then cats started divvying out samples of cocaine. And even though that was rejected, after a while, cats was like, all right, here, take this. And then, all right, give me some of that. It became one of that. Then by 78, all of a sudden you start seeing more guns. Mm-hmm. You saw more guns in Queens in 76. But you saw guns in Queens and Bronx in 77.
But Roosevelt was the first time. Roosevelt was the first town in Nassau County actually to display gunplay.
Yeah.
They would use knives. Roosevelt was tough. Roosevelt was a tough neighborhood, man.
Out of nowhere. Also, by 79, you got cocaine and guns. Where the fuck do they come from, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you know, this is a country-ass town, for real. Now, all of a sudden, you're hearing about cats. And back in the day, you know what a fight was. A fight was like, we have an OG fight was like this. You might have whooped my ass, but really, it's got to be 2 out of 3. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And a lot of times, cats, if we have me and T having a fight, we might even be friends after the fight, right?
That's right.
What happened.
That's right.
There's no comeback after gunplay. And by 78, 79, you hear about, so-and-so got killed on Nassau Road. So-and-so. There's no comeback. Then you got Vendetta, and then everybody got a gun. By 1984, 1985, what we did in Long Island was just try to tell people, like, leave that bullshit alone, and this is the better way out than this way. And trust me, it was coming in Long Island, Queens, Brooklyn, like avalanche, man. So cats was embedded in guns and drugs. So that's why party rap was important. It was escapism, and you want to have a good time.
Right.
We would throw events. Number one, we would tell people like, listen, take that gold off your neck, because you cannot protect yourself in the party. If cats surround you and take your shit, the party's over.
Right.
The girls ain't going to come. And if the girls ain't gonna come, you got Penitentiary 3 on your hands.
Absolutely.
What good is DJ in there?
No question.
So we was that's what party records happened, because it was a diversion away from the reality that was being poured in our neighborhoods and in the streets.
Right.
There was nothing glamorous about, I'm from the streets. Who the fuck want to be in the streets?
Right.
Streets got different names on them. The county run the streets, and the county's connected to the jail, which is connected to the prisons. Nobody was fucking bragging about that shit. But they was caught up in the game where this is what was happening there.
Right.
So our area, we was a diversion of all that shit. Come there, you come to a Spectrum, you come to a concept party at the Delphi, you away from all that shit.
Right.
So when it came down to us making records, basically it was like, okay, we're not gonna do the party records, they already out there. We're gonna address some of this bullshit. And go head on head. On the first Public Enemy album, at the bottom line of Yo Bummer's Show, it said the government's responsible.
If you look at it on the cover, right?
On the cover.
Right.
I say, I'm a South African government record. I mean, I'm saying shit that average person like, I don't know what the fuck dude is talking about. He sound like an old MC anyway.
Did you ever receive any backlash from it being on the album? Or do you think it just went over everyone's head?
Being on the album? Okay, listen.
Well, we can talk about the JDL.
Cats don't even see shit when you hitting them with invisible punches. Cats ain't even knowing what I'm saying now, right? When I say screen ages, I'm talking about 2026. And all that. Cats like, we were talking about shit before the pandemic, and the pandemic came. Yo, man, the pandemic been going 4 years. There's so much shit that's going on. I don't like to be what they call a hollow barker, barking for the hell of it. Because
you need to have some substance when we talk.
Well, somebody like ask you like, yo, man, I did something, man. You think it's dope, Chuck? I'm like, well, if you know what dope is, if it's dope, then it's dope. Fuck you asking me for? You know what I'm saying? You don't go in the mirror. You don't go to the mirror, right? You go to the mirror, you look at yourself, right? And then you go and ask somebody how you look. This shit is like, so our thing was just like, be confident, stand tall. You're measured by this. You're not measured by what you have, man.
Right.
You're not measured by somebody else's manufacturing. You know me all my life. I never bought a new car in my life. Yes, I can.
Right.
But I'm like, I used to hear shit like, oh, as soon as you drive it off the lot,
it depreciates. Yeah, 100%.
What kind of goddamn fool is that?
Right.
I'll buy last year's fucking car then. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But there's so much lack of us in us that I felt that at that time, and it wasn't an individual decision. I'm clustered around a united force, a collective. T comes from a collective. We are collective together. So it wasn't a Chuck D individual decision. Although I am writing the lyrics, and I have enough of a background to recognize, and then I have to put into a lyric what kind of represents like our totality, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I can't based on what I feel about this, because that's a solo record. I had to come there and say, this Public Enemy really was like what we were all talking about
the whole time
night at WBAU. Every night after the radio show stop at 1. We up in the radio show till 4 every night.
Every Monday.
For 5-6 years.
Whether we're cracking jokes or whether we're talking, talking about politics, whether we're talking
all this. Because look, we're not 12.
Yeah.
We 20-year-olds, right? Wondering like, damn, man, how come I can't buy a crib in Roosevelt? And the banks own it, shit's boarded up. If I took it, I could flip it.
Right.
I could. No, they were like, nigga, you ain't never getting a crib here. So y'all, and we didn't have money.
Right.
We just didn't have money. And so when cats started looking at drugs, and drugs brought money in for that time, it was a thing that was also, we didn't go that way. So we never had money. We all had, but we were like, well, you know what? We're gonna have to scramble. And we saw cats shoot up, and they came up and rose up and they had finances and stuff like that. And, you know, we were a little bitter at that, but we understood like, well, you know, what comes up, you know, goes up, comes back down because they dealing straight up with the feds. It's COINTELPRO. Anytime you fuck around with that game, we attacked the drug game because we knew the drug game was the government's game. And you was like, you with the feds, what you fucking with that and fucking us up. And all we want to do to make an honest dollar where we were. So we were very adamant against that. But, you know, like I said, that was talking invisible to somebody who just like, well, I'm in the streets to survive because I don't see all that what y'all talking. So we broadened the conversation. And the sad thing is, what we saw in our area to repair, going around the country, we kept seeing like 88, all of a sudden, Detroit got a crack epidemic. In 89, in the Bay Area, now they got a crack epidemic.
Miami, too.
You know what I'm saying? So you seeing all this stuff take place on real time as you're attacking it based on where you're from. We attacked crack. We attacked the drug game. We attacked these things because, I mean, how could, you know, we were old enough to see, and we was able to say, well, shit, man, we're old enough to see, and nobody's really listening to rap music because they say it's all party music, it's all little nigga music. What the fuck? They ain't saying nothing. Anyway, good. We want you to think that. And all we was able to do is drop a little seeds. Now, we also knew that it was going to be an endpoint. And the endpoint we knew was going to come in 91, 92, 92, because they're going to be able to infiltrate with all kinds, you know, okay, that's where they coming from. The enemy already three steps ahead.
Right.
So they see you coming. We came out of nowhere. But our years to come out of nowhere was 86, 87, 88, 89, 90. You know, then what? That created seeds from a lot of people saying something. And then what they do is like, okay, we got more money for the next wave coming in. It's just a natural thing for young people to rebel against their elders anyway. So the 90s just brought that attitude. You know, and that attitude came in and was meant to eradicate the original attitude that came in what we saw in real time. You know, so I mean, it wasn't their fault. But that's just how it goes.
But as a group, but listen, but as a group, you guys did so much, bro. Like, I mean, with that being said, when you came out, you changed the whole face of rap music. Period.
We had to get the fuck out of Dodge too. You know what?
Change the whole face.
One thing is like when people heard "Takes a Nation a Million," what's the first words that you hear? Hello, London.
Yep.
We was over there
on the Def Jam tour.
Yeah, we was over there. We didn't try to plant down in New York. We was like, yo, to make somebody say, yo, and then when people start asking questions years later, like, yo, so what do you think about hip hop being international? He asking me in 2001. I said, 1988, we planted the seed right there, dog, in real time. Minute one of the album that you say was dope, it was the greatest of all time. It showed you we was over there, and over there we're everywhere. Our home bases were London and Philadelphia.
Yep. Not
New York. We from Long Island, man. We knew this. Everybody's there, and it's going to be a wall of resistance. Now, back at one time, with my competitive ass, we back in the day. Remember we did the Rap Olympics?
Oh,
it was Long Island against the city.
Yeah.
And we trained people. We trained MCs.
That's right.
To go in there, and they was kicking everybody in the city's ass because they were trained, man. I would have leads in the new school, right? Running around the track backwards spitting. Just to be able to like, yo, man, nobody's going to fuck with your breath control.
Artist development.
Podcast joint with Ciara.